And I remember when my father was in the hospital recovering, I had made him a bone broth soup with reishi mushroom. And the nurse looked at me and said, "Do you want to be the one who kills your father? You can't give him that soup."
Oh my
Yeah. And I was like,
word.
okay, so you're going to give him Jello.
Hi, everybody. This is Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans on QVC-HSM, but now the proud host of Too Young to Be Old, my podcast named after my second book. And may you all always remain too young to be old. Well, guess what? I have joined on a very personal level the world of supplements outside of regular old Western medicine because aging can be painful. And I have an arthritic knee and it just set me totally off balance. I walk with a cane now temporarily. And we have got somebody here who has got so much important information because one of the supplements I take are allulose. I don't even know what that means, but we're going to find out. Mushroom gummies. And between the mushroom gummies and a couple of other supplements I'm trying, guess what? The pain is at least 50% reduced. And I've been taking them now for maybe, I don't know, Anna, just to maybe a month. So, first of all, let's talk about what are allulose gummies?
Well, hi, Diane. Thanks for having me. So
Yes.
allulose is actually just a type of sugar.
Oh,
So
good.
the allulose in
Naturally.
there is just what's making the gummies taste good,
Great.
basically. And it's
So,
like a low calorie sugar
oh,
option
good.
that,
As usual, I'm gravitating towards stuff that's not great for me.
but yeah, so the allulose is what makes it palatable. And then
Oh,
tell
and it
me what
is.
else, what kind of mushrooms are in there?
Okay, here we go. And I do want to say that I take it along with turmeric and I do a little bit of CBD gummies if I'm having a really bad morning. And it has been, I would like to say, brutally, literally, brutally cold in New York. I don't think we've experienced anything like this for at least a decade. So everybody's always telling me, don't feel bad. I mean, it's only 12 degrees out, so you got to go out today. And if you're achy and painful everywhere, well, everybody is. Do you know, dealing with these mushrooms, which were the last thing I added because I already knew about turmeric. I went out today and it was like, la la la, it's so nice and crisp outside. Yeah, it's like 19 degrees, but very little pain. So here's what's in it, Anna.
Okay.
Reishi. I'm
Reishi.
talking about the kind of mushrooms.
Yep. That's what I want to know.
Shiitake,
Hmm.
white button, cordy.
Cordyceps.
Oh, yeah, I was close.
Yep.
Lion's mane. We were
Yep.
just talking about that. Turkey tail, chaga, black fungus. That sounds nasty, doesn't it? Royal sun, maitake, and ashwagandha. And I will tell you what, the thing that makes the least amount of sense to me is I'm always hearing, oh, eat things with vitamin C and they've got a lot of sunlight in them and that, but mushrooms grow in the dark. How do mushrooms get so beneficially filled with what the human body needs to right itself again?
Yeah. Well, a few different ways. One thing is that one of the main medicinal components in mushrooms called the polysaccharides are what makes up the cell wall of the mushroom. So it's really just what's giving those cells structure. And so that's kind of, innate to the mushroom and doesn't matter if it's dark or light. However, when the mushrooms start to grow into the fruiting body, so a mushroom is a fruiting body, and that's like the above ground portion of the fungal organism that we see, other constituents start to be made that are more anti inflammatory, like the triterpenes. The polysaccharides also have some anti inflammatory actions. It's really going to be a lot of those triterpenes. And then if they're subjected to more light and more sun, then they will end up getting more vitamin D. But it's
I,
vitamin D2. It's not the active form of vitamin D. And something cool about
yeah.
that is even like just putting shiitake mushrooms after they've been collected out in the sun, they will get more vitamin D. And so you will
Well,
get more vitamin D from them.
honestly, who knew it was a miracle food? It was something that I like, but I always use it as almost a side dish, or maybe on top of a baked potato, or in some sort of Italian cooking. One thing I do want to ask is, I feel also that my digestion, my gut health is better. Is that from the ashwagandha? And what is ashwagandha?
So ashwagandha is not a mushroom at all. It's a plant in the Solanaceae family or the nightshade family.
Oh,
And
nightshade.
so for some people, nightshades can actually make joint pain worse. And so, but that's, not for everyone. And ashwagandha is the root usually of the plant that's used. And it's often used more for stress. So as an adaptogen herb to help kind of modulate your body's stress response, and also really useful for sleep, specifically sleep issues related to stress.
I've noticed my sleep patterns have been better. They're sort of horrendous. And I probably produce more stress related cortisol than any other female in the Western Hemisphere. So all of that is good to know.
Yeah, and the reishi in your gummies is also going to help with your cortisol level
Oh,
regulation. So you're getting some adaptogenic mushrooms in there too, along with the ashwagandha.
yeah, because honestly, I went to my hospital system, which is massive, and it is New York City, so you're going to attract a lot of great doctors. And the treatment was basically, oh, you're really limping. Yeah, I'm here because I'm in horrible pain. Well, it turns out there's this whole arena, this giant room with, I don't know, must have 25, 30 x-ray machines. And you just go one to the next and the next and the next. Here's a diagnosis. Ugh, you've got a lot of arthritis in your right knee. Want to have surgery? No, thank you. Okay, we'll give you a gel shot. That was the whole thing. Nothing was explained to me. X-rays weren't gone over. And yeah, when you have pain on a weight-bearing limb, it is constant
Yeah.
torture and narrowing down your life and really dominating the choices you have to make to be an active human being. Um, I had never heard about mushrooms, but I am so glad I'm introduced to them now, because honestly, it has made a profound difference in my how swollen my knee. My knee was so swollen before I started taking turmeric and mushrooms that it was like somebody took a giant needle and filled it up with water. I was so swollen, at least internally, you couldn't really see it. And I thought I'd come to the end of the road. I mean, I felt like, well, my God, my hospital is so famous, and these are supposed to be the best doctors, and they're
Yeah,
not
there's
telling me to take anything on the outside. But then I learned, Anna, that they don't want to tell you to take anything on the outside because they're not selling it.
yeah, and they're following their algorithm, right? It's like osteoarthritis, and then what's the treatment? The treatment is either knee replacement or a cortisone shot. And so that's kind of like all the information that they learn about. And so that's all the information that they have to offer as
So
treatment.
do you think that Western-based medical community knows about the relief that something like mushrooms can give, but because they're not going to make any money off of it, and because insurance doesn't approve of it, you just don't, you've got to find out all of this on your own, basically.
Yeah, I think it's mixed. I think that maybe for some people it is money driven, insurance driven, but I also think that people are just like this information is not given to people in medical school. Like this is not part
Wow.
of the algorithm. They don't have enough information to prescribe the right mushrooms in the right amounts that are actually going to have a therapeutic value. And so I think a huge part of it is people just medical professionals not being educated in natural medicine. And that's the cool thing about naturopathic medicine. And with naturopathic medical school, it's like I got all of the education in pharmaceuticals and feel very comfortable using them when they're necessary. But I also have all of these other tools in my toolbox, including physical medicine and herbal medicine and, mycological medicine and that kind of thing.
What is mycological medicine?
So mushrooms are, yeah, the study of mushrooms is mycology. And so I think I call it mycological medicine because it's not technically an herb, not technically herbal medicine, although it's
So,
often grouped with herbal medicine.
how did you get into this field and how did you make your focus, or why did you make your focus mushrooms? I can tell you, I never had any belief in this stuff before um, about a year and a half ago. But as the pain got worse, and the only way to solve it was to cut me open, I had just gone through a double mastectomy in 2018, 2019. I was not anxious to go under full sleep and then have to go into all kinds of adaptions. And
Hmm.
they didn't know if it was my knee, it could have been my hip, or maybe I'm going to have to get both. And I thought, no, this is, pardon the pun, mushrooming in a direction I don't like. So tell me
Yeah.
specifically what you use mushrooms for with your naturopathic patients.
Yeah. So just to answer your first question, is that I got into this field really because I had two parents who had chronic disease. My father had chronic lymphocytic leukemia. My mother has chronic Lyme disease and fibromyalgia and osteoarthritis. And so growing up, I always saw them seeking alternative healthcare in addition to their conventional healthcare. That then stemmed into me studying nutrition in undergrad. I was very interested in how nutrition impacts health. And then after undergrad, really getting deep into herbal medicine. And then when my father went to see a Chinese medical doctor in addition to his oncologist, and that Chinese medical doctor prescribed mushrooms, I got very interested. And it was this part of my herbal education and my nutrition education where I felt like mushrooms were really maybe I learned about them like just surface level, but I got very interested and I did a lot of my own research and started teaching a lot of mushroom classes, started a mushroom blog. And then when I went to naturopathic medical school, I had the opportunity to do laboratory research looking at different kinds of mushroom extractions with different cancer cell lines.
What do mushrooms have to do with cancer? And can I be benefited if I have a mushroom omelet once a week? Hi, today we're talking about Particlar. This is a series of supplements, and let me tell you what, if you are aging with any sort of inflammation that becomes one of the biggest issues in your everyday life, and swelling and joint pain, oh, I'm on it 100%. I've begun a new vitamin regime from Particlar that has literally changed my life. And I feel so much better on a daily basis. Try it out with a discount using our code below. You are going to love it. How effective is it using it as a foodstuff or taking it as a gummy? And
Yeah.
how do you integrate it into cancer treatment?
hmm Yeah. So there was a research review that came out kind of recently that basically showed that people who consume more mushrooms on a regular basis have a less likelihood of developing cancer. And the kind of the most significant results were with breast cancer. So consuming 18 grams of mushrooms every single day was more protective than not consuming any mushrooms every day. So that can look like really just like cooking your mushrooms and having them in a saute or having them in
Yeah,
soup on a daily basis. Those polysaccharides that I mentioned earlier that make up the cell wall of the mushroom, those have a direct effect on the immune system where they're stimulating anti-cancer mechanisms. So they're
wow.
stimulating natural killer cells and cytotoxic T cells, which are two of our main kind of defenses against cancer. They also have some effects on some other anti-cancer mechanisms, like something called caspase-3 and p53 tumor suppressor gene. So mushrooms are, I think, such an important part of. You can have them in your daily diet, and they will likely help to prevent occurrence of cancer or
That
recurrence of
is
cancer.
incredible. Why don't doctors tell you this stuff? Now, the hospital I went to had a grand hall that you walked into. It was about 7 or 8 stories high, like a Hyatt hotel. Beautiful glass at the top of the ceiling, so natural light's pouring in, and they literally carved into the stone wall the 10 commandments of what not to do
Hmm.
for cancer, like don't eat red meat, don't smoke cigarettes, um, don't drink more than half a glass of alcohol twice a week. I mean, they had some sort of severe stuff and some stuff that was pretty obvious. Try to do a green based diet, but nobody talked to you any further about it. And of course, to me, the one thing on everybody's mind, if you've had cancer, is, oh my God, please don't let me get it back again. But
Yep.
they don't give you that preventative information to do it, which I think is so weird because it's just accessible. It's not like you have to take any destructive drugs. Like the other thing, because your father had cancer, as did I, um, you have to ask yourself what foodstuffs that you can have, like the mushrooms, that are going to help your body respond and rebound from chemotherapy.
Yeah, and mushrooms are just, they play such an important role there. And I
Oh,
remember when my father was in the hospital recovering, and I had made him a bone broth soup with reishi mushroom. And the nurse looked at me and said, "Do you want to be the one who kills your father? You can't give him that soup."
oh my
Yeah. And I was like,
word.
okay, so you're going to give him jello and like a bad sandwich? Like that is not healing food. And I understand that you want to be very careful when people are immunocompromised and going through chemotherapy. It's a very important time to be very careful. And medicinal foods have such an important place for cancer treatment and cancer recovery and preventing reoccurrence. And I hope that one day, maybe I'll see this in my lifetime, that there is some actual medicinal food being served in
That would be
hospitals.
incredible, wouldn't it? Honestly,
Yeah.
I it took me a long time between the chemotherapy and the steroids that they pumped into me. Yeah, huge. I gained 30 pounds during chemotherapy because of the high level of steroids I had. Um, and I can tell you today, ladies and gentlemen, that I am a almost 80, 79 going on 80, I really cleaned up my diet. So, for instance, I used to have apple pie with vanilla ice cream on top of it. I would always say, oh, you've had a hard day, treat yourself, not the right attitude. And today, I just eat the apple. I've made it much more direct food. I've added the mushrooms, I've added the turmeric, I've added the CBD, I've added some beet compound that's for your heart. And I can honestly say, at almost my 8th decade, I take zero supportive drugs. My cholesterol, great. Blood pressure, perfect. And I did it through diet. And I am now getting rid of so much disruptive pain by taking these supplements. So, I've got a lot of mushrooms in here, right? And they all sound good, or they don't sound good,
Well,
or
let's get
what?
into that gummy supplement. So, looking at the label, does it say fruiting body or mushroom or powder or extract anywhere?
No,
It just says the name of the mushroom.
it tells you what it does. Like, for instance, turkey tail, or let's do lion's mane.
Hmm.
Supports cognitive health, promotes nerve regeneration,
Hmm.
enhances memory and focus. That's about it.
So
And
on the ingredients section, like on the nutrition label, it doesn't say like what part of the fungal organism it is. So this is a problem.
oh, I'm
And
sure.
yeah, and so
No,
when
no.
you're buying your mushroom supplements, you really want to make sure that it says either mushroom or fruiting body.
What it says is free of top allergens, yeast free, wheat free, egg free, gluten free, soy free, gelatin free,
Okay.
peanut free, and shellfish free. You know, here's the deal. I got them off of Amazon. I live my life on Amazon or the TikTok shop, which is about to
Yeah.
be retired. And it looked right. It seemed to have a lot of solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody keeps talking about ashwagandha, ashwagandha. Oh, you need ashwagandha. And there it was in the headline. And I thought,
Ashwagandha.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
this
Well,
is what I need.
anytime there's that many mushrooms on a label, I feel very suspicious of there actually being like any therapeutic amounts of those mushrooms in the product. It's like pretty diluted. And some of these mushrooms aren't really going to be very helpful in small amounts. And
Okay.
especially with the ashwagandha, I'm like, how much ashwagandha is actually in the product? Like, I want to see the
Uh,
concentrations and the percents in the formula.
the most of any of the products, it is 600 micrograms. I don't
Milligrams,
know.
probably.
Yeah, milligrams.
Hmm.
Okay. That's it. And then everything else is more like 200, 250. What
Hmm.
I want to say is we are all just laymen out here.
Yep.
And it took a lot for me to actually get, it took unbelievable amounts of pain every day. And someone saying, I don't see why you don't try this as a solution about 5,000 times. And then I said, oh, look, oh, it's on Amazon. They had my algorithm for CBD gummies. And so they put all these gummies in front of me.
Hmm.
And I don't know. One thing I do like about the label, though, is every single mushroom, like shiitake mushroom, boosts immune function, supports heart health, provides essential nutrients, whatever that means. But what I do believe most of all, and I think my audience would agree, is this makes me feel good. Oh, I'm taking 20 different kinds of mushrooms. That must be great. But what it does do is makes you very aware. You have got to be active on solving a lot of your own medical symptoms, like pain, like inflammation, like aching. We have a graying nation. And also, medical community came out with a very disturbing report yesterday. Below 50, we always used to think of cancer as an older person's disease because your immune level went way down, especially for women after menopause. The report came out yesterday that cancer amongst people 50 and younger has shot up
Yep.
77%, and it is mostly women. So, with that in mind, what do you suggest for boosting the immune system and fighting
Yeah.
that off?
Well, first of all, I think that one of the big causes of that is the increase in endocrine disrupting chemicals that we're exposed to on a daily basis. So
What is that, and where is that coming from?
it is coming from mostly, well, it's coming from shampoo, conditioner, lotions, makeup. It's coming from plastics. It's coming from your, even just holding a receipt that you get from the grocery store. There are so many of
Wow.
these endocrine disrupting chemicals that have an impact on your endocrine system, your hormonal system. And so it can impact how much estrogen is in the system. A lot of these act like estrogens. They're called xenoestrogens. So it's like a xeno being like an other. So it's an other kind of molecule that can act on estrogen receptors. And so people absolutely need to be aware of these endocrine disrupting chemicals, how much of them are in their daily life. It's like even just having any kind of fragrance, all fragrances are endocrine disrupting.
Do you know something really strange? I stopped using fragrances. I stopped using deodorant. I stopped using body lotion after getting done with treatment. Nobody
Good.
told me to. I stopped dyeing my hair because it had formaldehyde in it, and who wants to put that on your scalp?
Yep.
So I had a certain amount of innate rejection,
Hmm.
but for the younger woman, what do you suggest in terms of mushroom intake? Gummy, um, powdered capsule, actual food ingested. Where do you want to go with that?
Yeah. I suggest that, I mean, whatever way that you're going to get them into your body is the best way. So if the only way you're going to get mushrooms is through a gummy, then eat the gummy. Just get the
That's me.
mushrooms into your body. Otherwise, I do suggest powdered mushroom extract, either as a powder that you can add to water or
Yeah.
as a capsule. And so that's why I did start a medicinal mushroom company specifically to get the right mushrooms in the right amounts to the people so
Well,
that you
I'm
don't
going
even
to
have to
visit.
wonder.
I am going to visit you
Great.
because I am now so sold on the idea that and I don't want to put this in a way where people think you can be your own doctor. And of course you cannot. But I think the world is getting more and more split between what people are taught in medical school to become a doctor and then a specialist, and what we, especially in my category, aging citizen, what we tend to go through. And I hate to say it, but society sort of would just like to warehouse us after a certain age, right?
I think
They
that's
don't.
true. I mean, I even see how my older patients, how their Medicare doctors treat them and how
Oh,
it's like it's different. You are treated differently. Like
you're
that's
not
not a
important.
conspiracy. It's
Right.
real.
It's real.
Yeah.
And that's why they just started, what is it called? Oak Community or something, which is just for people over 55 or 60. And you've got a team of doctors not just isolated doctors when you need them. Whatever it is put out by AARP. I don't know if it's good or not, but I think they're pretty smart at managing themselves. But bottom line is, don't think of this audience as witch's brew. You know, you always see these. I'm huge into horror movies. I've probably seen every horror movie ever made. And you'll always get one about Salem witches or something, and they're like Newt of the Frog and mushrooms and all.
Yeah.
No, we're not talking about going into a cave and seeing a horrific witch and living under a curse the rest of your life. We're talking about the concept that you can truly augment your health factors and live a much fuller, more active, more cognizant life as you age if you just think about things like, I wonder what mushrooms can do. I wonder what beets can do, dehydrated beets. And I feel on a more, how shall I say, correctly connected. In other words, I wake up in the morning, I have less pain. Less pain equals feeling better. Feeling better equals better mental health. Better mental health equals being more social. Being social is really good for me. Da 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 da.
Yeah.
And what you think of usually, and this is what society teaches us, no solutions to getting old. There are no solutions. There are a bunch of medicines that train your body not to take care of itself, like let's say statins, but you will be amazed and very proud of yourself when you start introducing a real, I almost want to say, home remedy like mushrooms into your reality. And you wake up one morning, then you wake up the next morning, and about the fifth morning, you say, you know what? There really is less pain. OMG. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to list everything for people to be able to go and see what your products are like. And I'm going on your site for sure. And I wonder if your patients are a little bit like me and they feel very accomplished for doing something for themselves, but also very comforted by the idea that you actually can do something for yourself
Definitely.
that's going to improve you. How you
Yeah.
feel?
Yeah. I think that my patients definitely feel that way. I mean, that's why they seek naturopathic medicine because they are making that next step to be more empowered about their own health. They don't want to just take a drug. They don't want to just get a steroid injection or just get a knee replacement. They know that there is another way. And I help them get there and see that. And I think that a lot of, I mean, so much of what you said is so true. And what can't be disregarded as minimal is like the fact what you said about choosing an apple instead of apple pie. I think that choices like that actually make the biggest impact on your health and the biggest impact on your pain and your mood and your energy throughout the day. Just choosing whole foods is really the key to living a more healthful life and having a longer health span.
I think also when you put it all together, and at a certain point, I just got up one day, went through every cupboard, anything that looked super processed, even if it was something that said sort of like, I know I look super processed, but I'm kind of not because I only have 3 or 4 ingredients, and but I knew, uh-uh, I just gave it away. I gave that food away to a local food bank and never bought it again.
Yeah.
And thought to myself, I I didn't hate going through cancer. As a matter of fact, it was kind of a very uplifting spiritual experience for me. But I had that experience. Thank you, universe. I think I'll take a pass on doing that again. And I also thought to myself, I see these doctors, they're so sophisticated, and yet they don't treat me like I'm worth much. And actually, the doctor that gave me the gel shots on my knee told me she had exactly 2.5 minutes to see me. And then she was on to the next patient. She was obligated to give that shot to up to 70 patients, 70 in a day. So you
Oof.
get no explanation, no advice, no emotional
Yep.
support, very little physical support. What she didn't tell me was those steroids, once they go in your knee, they're wrecking your joint and they're wrecking your bones. And you think you can do it forever, but you can't. And they give you no solution. So I think all of us have to come to terms with there's not much choice. You either age or you don't. And if you choose to age, you're going to have to take a certain amount of control. And actually, shouldn't you be the boss of you anyway? Well, that's my health statement for the day. Would you like to give a
Yeah.
closing statement?
I think that that was the perfect closing statement. I think that people need to be empowered about their own health and their health span. And if you don't take control over the way that you age, nobody else is going to. And it's
You
like
will be
every
on
day,
8,000 drugs.
it
That's
is
what you'll be on.
everyday choices. And what you put into your body is vital.
I'm all in for mushrooms, and I'm saying a disclaimer. I'm not any part of a medical community. I'm the other part, the patient community. And now, when I find that my choices are something I may think is toxic or is going to be 100 times more painful, like surgery or a high blood pressure drug, a statin drug, a this drug, a that drug, um, I'm going to seek out more direct forms of relief.
Great. And
That's
one
enough.
thing that I just wanted to mention along the lines of the endocrine disrupting chemicals is that there's a great website called Skin Deep that goes through a bunch of different skincare products and the chemicals that can have an impact, and finding skincare products that are safer and don't contain those endocrine disrupting chemicals.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
always used a cream, La Mer. And what I loved about it was very direct. It was for burn victims, and it was produced by a man that went through World War I and got deeply burned. And he was a medical in the
Hmm.
medical society, and he was looking for a very pure solution. So it was seaweed put on the rocks of Brittany and allowed to dry in the sun. I don't know if they still do that, but I'm sure they have sun lamps now. But I liked the fact that it was elemental and that it was directly connected to nature. And then
Yeah.
maybe the only other thing it had in it was hydrolyzed water or something, but it was only a couple of ingredients. There was a lot of handwork in between. I say it all the time. I'll finish with this. The one really clear cut experience was when the Impossible Burger came out. I said, "Oh, great! I'm not going to eat red meat anymore. It's going to be so good." And I buy, and I look at the label, and literally the ingredients were a paragraph that long and that wide, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't think this could be good for me. Maybe if I just had grass-fed filet mignon once every 3 weeks,
Yes.
I'd be doing myself a much better service. So even ladies and gentlemen, when you buy your foods, take a look at them, because what you think you may be doing that's good for yourself can actually turn out to be a super processed food. And what happens? Your body doesn't know how to deal with 90% of these chemicals that are performative for keeping this concoction fresh forever or tasting like something it isn't. And what does your body do with them? If it doesn't know how to process them, it stores them in fat, and that winds up at some point becoming cancer. So, yikes, I'm down to eating a lot of fresh foods and a lot of very direct foods. Like I get a fillet of salmon that's wild caught from Patagonia, where I know the waters are the least influenced by pollutants, and it goes in the oven for 15 minutes. You could say I live in a bubble of paranoia, but I think it's more like a bubble of thoughtful self safety.
Yep. Keep things simple. That's for sure.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Anna Sitkoff, thank you so much. I'm all in for mushrooms. I'm going to your site when we are done with this and see what more I can do with mushrooms to improve my situation. Anna, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Diane.
And keep up the good work.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Yay for mushrooms.
Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.